Joshua 4 through 8, chapter 5, verse 1, and chapter 6, 1 through 13. Joshua called out the 12 men whom he selected from the people of Israel, 1 man from each tribe. Joshua directed them, "Cross to the middle of the Jordan and take your place in front of the chest of God, your God. Each of you heft a stone to your shoulder, a stone for each of the tribes of the people of Israel, so you'll have something later to mark the occasion. When your children ask you, 'What are these stones to you?' you'll say, 'The flow of the Jordan was stopped in front of the chest of the covenant of God as it crossed the Jordan, stopped in its tracks. These stones are a permanent memorial for the people of Israel.'" The people of Israel did exactly as Joshua commanded. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, a stone for each of the 12 tribes, just as God had instructed Joshua, carried them across with them to the camp, and set them down there. When all the Amorite kings west of the Jordan and the Canaanite kings along the seacoast heard how God had stopped the Jordan River before the people of Israel until they had crossed over, their hearts sank. The courage drained out of them just thinking about the people of Israel. Jericho was shut up tight as a drum because of the people of Israel. No one going in, no one coming out. God spoke to Joshua, "Look sharp now. I've already given Jericho to you, along with its kings and its crack troops. Here's what you are to do. March around the city, all your soldiers. Circle the city once. Repeat this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry 7 ram's horn trumpets in front of the chest. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, the priests blowing away on the trumpets, and then a long blast on the ram's horn. When you hear that, all the people are to shout at the top of their lungs. The city wall will collapse at once. All the people are to enter, every man straight on in." So Joshua, son of Nun, called the priests and told them, "Take up the chest of the covenant. 7 priests are to carry 7 ram's horn trumpets, leading God's chest." Then he told the people, "Set out. March around the city. Have the armed guard march before the chest of God." And it happened. Joshua spoke. The people moved. 7 priests with their 7 ram's horn trumpets set out before God. They blew the trumpets, leading God's chest of the covenant. The armed guard marched ahead of the trumpet-blowing priests. The rear guard was marching after the chest, marching and blowing their trumpets. Joshua had given orders to the people. Don't shout. In fact, don't even speak, not so much as a whisper, until you hear me say shout. Then shout away. He sent the chest of God on its way around the city. It circled once, came back to camp, and stayed for the night. Joshua was up early the next morning, and the priests took up the chest of God. The 7 priests carrying the 7 ram's horn trumpets marched before the chest of God, marching and blowing the trumpets, with the armed guard marching before and the rear guard marching after, marching and blowing of trumpets.